I'm Haley Taylor, and you're listening to the Rough Draft Diaries. This week, we're doing something a little different on the Rough Draft Diaries. It'll be a break from our regular connections, which we'll pick up with next week. But for now, we have a special guest on the show. Okay, can you hear me?
Again, can you hear me?
Yep. That's Amanda Lucidon. She served as a White House photographer, responsible for capturing former First Lady Michelle Obama from 2013 to 2017. Although she's not from Northwest Ohio, Amanda is in town for an event at the Toledo Public Library, which gave us, the Rough Draft Diaries, the perfect opportunity to chat with Amanda about her time at the White House and her career as a photographer. So, to start, really, I guess we should go back to the beginning. So you grew up in a kind of a large, low-income-based family, and I was curious, do you remember the first time that you picked up a camera?
You know, the first camera that I had my hands on was one of those, old orange viewfinders. Do you remember those?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The ones where you put the little film disc and you could change the scene. So, although it wasn't a camera, I thought it was fascinating that this was a way of seeing things, But my first actual experience with a camera was a Yashica with a hippie strap around it, and it was all manual. And I just picked it up and started taking pictures of everything. And I had a teacher who saw my pictures and said to me, you're really good at this. So I was sort of like, really? This teacher encouraged me to pursue photography in high school and in college.
And you pursued it after college. I know that you eventually after unpaid internships, you started working as a staff photographer out in California, but then you moved from California to D.C. to kind of change the stories that you were covering or to go after bigger stories. Was that scary for you, moving all the way across the country without a job that was waiting for you?
Yeah, I mean, being a photographer for so long and then moving to D.C. and then sort of feeling like I lost my identity a little bit because I didn't have the press credentials and I didn't have, I really had the desire to tell stories, but I didn't know that they would be published. And so I felt like, should I be out there doing this if I don't know that I have an outlet? When the inauguration of President Barack Obama came the first time around, I thought, this is an important moment in American history, and I'm not going to miss it. So, I had made attempts to get press credentials, but I was not successful. And I just thought, I'm going to go out and cover it from the people's perspective, because that's what I have access to. So being there was just the most exciting day that I had since I was moved to Washington, D.C. And it was the first day that I was like thinking I made the right move. I felt really good. I felt like I was on a high, like, okay, I can do this.
So doing this, you did the inauguration, but then you didn't get the job as the White House photographer until 4 years later. Doing the inauguration, did you ever think one day you were going to be a White House photographer? Did you kind of have those plans?
Never.
So it must have been so crazy as someone who's not a political journalist to be asked by Pete Sousa, a very well-known photojournalist, to kind of put your name in the ring for this position and then to get it. What was it like being in the middle of these very personal, private moments with very well-known figures while still trying to be somewhat removed and neutral? Was it kind of hard to kind of make that all work at times?
Yeah, well, I think that's the beautiful thing about being an observer and being a documentarian is you're photographing what's happening in front of you. That doesn't change. It doesn't change when you work for the newspaper. That doesn't change when you work at the White House. People say, did you ever get emotional on the job? And the truth is, of course. I was so inspired every day. And I think that being truly present in those environments and being totally aware of everything that's coming together, it's like, if I'm not feeling that moment, then how am I supposed to make anyone else feel it? The wonderful thing about being a photographer is that is my job. All I really need to do is be absolutely present. So it's like this balance of making sure that you're always getting those important moments, you're documenting this for history, and then you're looking a little deeper to, show another layer and to be able to share with the American people.
And I'm sure it took a while for you to kind of get into the swing of it, but not just getting used to starting the position, but also I'm sure getting used to leaving the position. What was it like for you realizing that Obama's term was coming to an end and then your time with the Obamas was coming to an end?
Yeah, working at the White House the truth is there was no typical day, and we did work a lot, and it was 4 years that I felt went, as like a blink of an eye. But, every day I was inspired to be there. I was inspired to be around Mrs. Obama and President Obama and their staff members. And so, it was really a unique environment because there's not a lot of places that everyone's there because they believe in something bigger than themselves. I guess, thinking about the first time I walked into the White House and the last time we walked out of the White House, I distinctly remember the gates closing behind me and thinking, wow, I can't believe that happened. It felt like a dream, but I knew that it was real. And, I know that experience changed my life as a photographer and as a person.
Interviewing Amanda was a lot of fun, and we had a lot to talk about. So much so that actually I'm going to add some extra content on our website. So if you want to hear more about Amanda's time at the White House, make sure to visit WGTE.org. For now, I'm Haley Taylor, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Rough Draft Diaries.